welcome to GameSpot of Thrones. Bit different this week, guys. We're in lovely San Francisco. We're visiting our US counterparts. How are you finding it?
It's lovely.
It's really nice.
Really like
the
set.
studio is insane.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, if we're here again, we're going to have to put some like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, very slowly sneak
Sure.
some figures into there.
But I'm Lucy James, of course, joined by Timur Hussein.
Hello.
And Dave Jewett.
Hi there.
So we're going to be talking about the latest episode, which is Season 6, Episode 7, The Broken Man. So if you haven't seen it, go away. Turn away now, because we're going to be going in deep, because the hype is so real now, right, guys?
It is.
It's
the hype was
confirmed.
real. Yeah.
All confirmed.
It's everything we wanted it to be is happening. Cleganebowl.
Get hype.
Get hype.
Get hype.
Okay, let's start with the recap. But I think it's worth noting that there are a few different things about this episode. So first of all, it had a cold open. So to bring the Hound back, he's back. And they brought him back with a cold open, which I think was very smart because it kind of lured you into the episode a bit more than just having the title sequence. But it's an episode called The Broken Man.
Yep.
And I was quite surprised that there was no Bran.
Yeah.
No,
That's all
which
we
is a
assumed.
good
We
thing.
assumed that you think Broken Man, he's the epitome of broken.
The paralyzed from the waist down man.
But there is a kind of a meaning to the Broken Man existing in the
Yes.
books, right?
So book readers were like, this is obviously the Hound episode because Septon Meribald, who was played by Ian McShane, we knew that he was going to be the Peacenik, the Septon, the Wandering Septon, because he
Said it.
broke his NDA quite a while ago. In the book, Septon Meribald gives this incredible speech, and I'll link it below. And it's all about how everyday men who get conscripted into armies, the Westeros armies, kind of get just ground down by being injured, by having no food. You know, their boots get worn through because they walk so much and they march so much. And after years of this kind of life, they snap and they desert the army and form, like just turn to a life of crime, basically,
Yeah.
become highwaymen, become robbers. So that's where the Broken Man basically came from. He calls them broken men. But in Game of Thrones, everything has more than one meaning. So we thought that the Broken Man was Bran, but it could be many people. It could be the Hound, Jaime, obviously he's got one hand.
Yep.
Could also be Theon.
Yeah, Theon.
So what was quite interesting, but it's interesting to see the way that they went. Let's just say for this episode, the Broken Man is the Hound.
Yep.
So let's just talk about him. Cleganebowl, confirmed. So start the episode, you get to see him basically just, he's alive, seems fine,
Yeah.
he's all right.
Yeah. I mean, apparently he was broken man. Like
Yeah,
he
he
was
was expected
almost
to
dead.
die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Septon was like, you were mega dead when I found you, and then you just suddenly came to life, which is classic Hound behavior.
When I found you, I thought you'd been dead for days. Well, you were stinking already, and you had bugs all over you, and bone was coming through right there. I was going to give you a proper burial, and then you coughed. Nearly shit myself.
So the Septon was talking about, he was an ex-warrior, and he's talking about the Hound, and both of them seem to have just rejected that life and have become peaceful men, a lot of wood chopping, sharing food, and they have this kind of conversation where they talk about their past life. And the Septon does have his own really good speech. It's not the Broken Man speech, but he talks about his life and the bad things that he's done.
Yeah, it was basically an opportunity for the Hound to perhaps look how he could change and become a different type of person. But then as the kind of events in that area transpire, doesn't quite go that way.
No, so the Brotherhood without banners turn up, and they're a little different. To be honest, when those guys turned up, I thought they were Freys.
Yeah.
Because one of them had like two. It looked like the Frey, kind of like the twins.
Yeah.
But no, they're the Brotherhood, and they were just basically like, we're gonna take all your stuff. And the Septon just said, we don't have anything.
He's like, peace, bro.
It's fine. And then so what I did sort of love about this bit is when the Hound's away chopping wood again.
Angrily chopping wood
Angrily
as well.
chopping
He's
wood.
so angry about
He
it.
hears one scream, and then he comes back and everyone's dead.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? Did everyone
was
just
one
die
unified
really
scream.
silently? So I'm going to assume that what's next for him is some sweet vengeance.
Yeah, some sword swinging.
Yeah. But Dave, what happened in the north?
So starting at the wall, we see Tormund Giantsbane convincing the wildling cohorts to march under Jon Snow. They don't really seem keen, but someone has like kind of an ace in the hole. He basically says he died for us.
Oh, I think that
Literally.
the giant was the ace in the hole.
Well, no,
Oh, yeah.
that's the argument he makes. He says John died for us. You kind of have to, pay him back. And if a giant says, let's go, you kind of follow him.
He just stands up and goes, let's do this.
Snow. Moving south a little, Bron's back.
Hey.
Probably one of my favorite characters in Game of Thrones.
Was he Robson or was he Jerome?
I think he was.
He's both in my heart.
Yeah.
He basically spends the first few moments dropping some sass.
Yeah, just like machine gunning him out.
Just turns up and be like, Phrase, your siege is god awful. Start again.
2 out of 10.
Yeah,
exactly. He sees the rubbish excuse for a siege. He's hanging out with Jaime. Jaime obviously wants to go up against the Blackfish, and he's like, he's just an old man. Bron makes the argument that, well, you've only got one hand. Yeah. That's why you're here, Bron. You could be my other hand.
Straight in with the sick burns.
I'm pretty sure Bron's only hanging out until he gets the reward that was promised him from going to Dawn.
To be honest, if anyone had to go to Dawn and live through that plotline,
he made it at least half interesting.
Yeah.
And then what sounds like the coolest place ever, Bear Island.
Hey.
I want to visit there. Jon, Sansa, Davos still searching for the men that they need to bolster their army. And after the young 10-year-old ruler of Bear Island.
Of House Mormont. Oh my God, she is.
That's a sassy 10-year-old. Lyanna Mormont, props
It's
to her.
just, I love the fact that when the Maester leant over to talk to her, she just sort of went like,
Get out
No
my
she's
face.
like the Mariah Carey of Bear Island.
But like, they make amazing arguments for why they need this men. And then finally she's persuaded, and like, all right, and you can have like 60 something.
62.
What?
62 men.
I really
All
hope
of that.
I really hope that these 62 men turn out to be the most badass dudes on the battlefield, and they take like 100 Boltons with them or something.
Oh my God.
I think she might have screwed up her times tables. She's young.
Yeah.
She's like, how much
actually
is
got
that?
hundreds.
Okay,
That's what the
62?
Maester's doing. No.
Yeah. No.
My lady.
It's 62,000.
He's got an abacus just offshore, like, that's wrong. So House Glover feels somewhat different. The Mormonts, backed them with a 62.
Eventually. It was only because of Davos.
But House Glover are still feeling the ripples of Robb screwing up. And then it's
That's
like,
putting it lightly.
yeah, well, they're not exactly going to be convinced by Sansa, Jon, and his wildlings when Robb had the whole north and still failed. So House Glover kind of just tells them, get out of here. No men for you.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's also, you kind of forget about just how catastrophically Robb ruined the north. And now that they're meeting all the lesser houses, they're like, no.
Do you not remember what happened last time?
Yeah.
No men for you. And then finally we see the heroic trio back at their camp, doing the maths and coming to the sad realization that they do not have enough dudes to take on Winterfell and the Boltons. And I think Sansa realizes that, but who offered her more men?
It's your boy, Littlefinger.
It's my boy. No, I mean, there is a great, face that she pulls where she realizes,
she done goofed.
Yeah.
So I assume that's who her letter is to.
Yeah. And someone has gone into CSI mode and actually deciphered the letter. Zoom and enhance. So,
Enhance.
I think we're going to see Knights of the Vale come and save their sorry wildling butts at this point.
So, Timur, what about the south?
The South, King's Landing, we get to see Marjorie again. She's still playing the pious disciple act. She is really giving the High Sparrow exactly what he wants to hear. So she talks about how when she was queen, she used to visit the sick, and she kind of felt pity for them, but they also disgusted her. So it's like High Sparrow's like, oh yeah, you really have changed, haven't you? And so they discuss that for a bit, and then they talk about, for some reason, whether she's boning Tommen properly or not.
That was...
which was real weird.
Also, shout out to Tommen for, talking to the High Sparrow about
Yeah.
it. It's like,
He was like,
hey,
snitch.
my wife isn't coming to bed.
So she's like, nah, you know what? I'm not, the desires that once drove me aren't anymore. I'm not feeling it. Which, to be fair, Tommen's a 10-year-old, not very experienced. She's probably like, ain't nobody got time for
Kind of
Tommen.
illegal.
Yeah, exactly. So then the High Sparrow's like, get to boning, and then let's move on to your grandmother. She's a bit of a problem. So he's calling her the unrepentant sinner, and basically implies that she needs to kind of bring her grandmother to the light. So then we skip ahead, and Marjorie's gone to see Olenna and is like, hey, you should be real cool god lady with me.
It's loads of fun.
Yeah, it's great. Look how awesome I am. I'm loving it. My life is better than ever. And they have a representative from the faith there as well.
Except Unala. She is a hard bitch.
Yeah, her face is just like, it's like cement. She doesn't change. She's a sour face looking.
She looks like one of the jailers from Dark Souls 3. I noticed she looks exactly like one of those.
She really hits us hard as well.
Yeah.
She does. And then, so Marjorie is discussing to her, and then this is where her act starts to kind of not slip, but we start to see what she's actually up to. She kind of puts it in her grandmother's head that maybe she'd be better off out of King's Landing. And then as she's kind of kneeling down, you can hear the transfer of a paper from one hand to the other. And then they leave, and then Olenna goes outside and has a look at the note, and it's just a picture of the House Tyrell sigil. And
she got it. She nailed it.
And Olenna is satisfied that her granddaughter is up to some tricks. And it's like, you got this, girl. I'm going to get out of here. So skip ahead a bit, and we get the much awaited sass off between Cersei. Well, it's not one-sided. It was just like an absolute beating. It's like Olenna just went in there and just sass right to the face.
Stop, she's already dead.
Exactly. So Cersei comes in and is playing she's finally figured out her back's against the wall, and is like, she's figured out that, maybe Olenna, I need her. And Olenna knows that Cersei's back is against the wall and says, listen, our two houses are just in disrepair and screwed because of you.
You biffed it.
Yeah, and she dunks on, the High Sparrow, calls him like a sandal wearing something or another, which is, I forgot the exact term, but I remember hearing it and going, ooh. Savage. And then it ends by again, Cersei trying to be like, we got to work together. We got this. We need to take care of this together. And she's like, you know what? You've lost. And it's one of the things that makes me most happy right now. And then says, I'm out of here. You should probably do the same. And Cersei's like, nah, I'm staying for my son. But Olenna's done.
But also she can't leave, right? Because she's got her trial by combat. So.
Exactly. She has her trial by combat. So she's kind of stuck there. And that's the end of their kind of exchange. Yeah. So then we move over to Volantis, and Theon is with his sister Yara. They've taken a break from running for their lives to
find a bawdy alehouse.
Yeah, and it's just a weird change of pace for them, because their uncle is trying to kill them after usurping their claim to the throne. And it's like, and they're like, yeah, let's just hang out and drink for a bit.
To be fair, their uncle has to build 1,000 boats first.
Yeah,
it's probably going to take a while.
That is true.
Chopping some wood.
So the whole point of this scene is to kind of, for Yara to really succeed. Their plan is to go across the sea and make a pact with Daenerys. But to do that, Yara needs Reek. She needs Reek to go away and get Theon back.
Now listen to me. I need you. The real Theon Greyjoy, not this rat shit pretender. Can you find him for me? Drink. You escaped, you hear me? You got away and you're never going back. We'll get justice for you.
If I got justice, my burnt body would hang over the gates of Winterfell.
Fuck justice, then we'll get revenge. Drink.
So maybe Theon is over it.
His Reek's redemption.
But then she's like, all right, now I'm going to go.
Yeah, and then she's like, now I got some boobies to take care of.
Also, I mean, if Theon's the only one, he's just sat there drinking by
himself. On his own.
No.
So then in Bravos, we have Arya being a bit weird.
Yeah.
There's something up with Arya. Her mannerisms were quite different. She shows up and kind of says, I need to get back to Westeros. And the guy's like, you ain't got no money for that. Bam. Sack full of coins.
2 bags of silver.
Yeah. And then she's like, all right, we'll do it in a couple of days. She's like, no, tomorrow. Another sack of silver.
Another one.
And exactly. And then she grabs it again and is like, I'll see you at sunrise. And then she goes and stands on a bridge, which is very strange considering.
Real obvious.
Yeah, because the last episode, it ended with her kind of holding up, getting ready for a fight. And now she's out in the open. And then we have a little old lady coming up behind going, sweet girl. And before she can even react, just getting stabbed by it. And it is, of course, the waif.
Yeah.
She jumps off into the drink below. And Waif is like, is she coming up? Is she coming up? She doesn't.
She goes like full Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
as well, like escaping detection. Like,
Needs to confirm that kill though.
I think Waif is satisfied that she's done the job and then kind of walks off. And then next thing we see is Arya walking through the market area, blood dripping, almost as if she's leaving a trail of some sort,
Yeah.
a very obvious blood trail. And then that's it. Done with Arya. She's seems to be a bit off. Something strange is definitely afoot.
So again, I thought this episode had a lot of setup. The last 3 episodes, they're also going to be longer, which I'm really excited about because they have so much to get through. But there's also things that we've been waiting seasons for are coming to a head. So I think Arya is a great place to start with this because I think this is the end of her Bravos story arc, I guess.
Yeah.
Dave, you've got some great theories about this.
So, obviously, you mentioned before what happened to Arya was that she was bold as brass going through the market, got stabbed, escaped, and we kind of don't know what's going to happen to her now. There are a couple of theories about what went on here because it felt very unnatural for Arya.
Yeah.
A few people are thinking that it could be Jaqen pretending to be Arya to test the waif.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
You'd have to shrink down, right? Like,
But no, I mean, that's the thing about the faceless men is that they kind of have that weird ability to.
Yeah.
Because Arya, her face was used on a dead body before, right? When just before she went blind.
well, the piece of music that plays during the scene is called Vala Morgulis, so that's hinting at a connection to the faceless men. We also know that Jaqen may have something of a soft spot for Arya. He took her in, he helped her out killing the Lannisters and took her in when she finally came over to Bravos. And he tells the waif, don't let her suffer. Now,
So I'm going to stab you multiple times in the stomach.
in that scene, she could have had the perfect opportunity to just cut her throat,
Yeah.
end it. But instead, I think he's banking on the fact that the waif really dislikes her and goes for a slash and in the stomach. And the place you stab someone if you want them to suffer is the stomach. It can take days to bleed out from a stomach wound or a stomach gunshot, as we see in Reservoir Dogs. Let's get that reference in there. So it could be Jaqen testing the waif, seeing if the waif is kind of harboring a grudge, which obviously
She's not supposed to.
exactly.
Yeah.
But another theory, which I think may hold more water, is that Arya knew exactly what she was doing. She
Yeah.
fully expected to be attacked by the waif.
Yeah.
Her mannerisms in this scene are much different to how she normally acts. She's very cocky, flashing her cash to draw her attention to herself.
Is she holding needle as well? She's going
No,
around?
she's unarmed.
Yeah.
Okay.
She is like this though.
Yeah.
And I have a theory as to that stance.
Oh.
Yeah, I've gone in deep here. So she's drawing attention to herself, throwing all this money around. People in this area are obviously going to be drawn to, cash being
Yeah, a lot of
chucked
money.
about. So I think that's exactly what she wants. She doesn't have to escape this way. She doesn't have to pay a man to take her away. She's got the ninja abilities to sneak on a ship at night, stow away, and get away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the waif approaches, wearing the face of an old woman, Arya's hanging out on the bridge.
Sweet girl.
This location is chosen by Arya in advance
Yeah.
because it has an escape route.
Yeah.
She could jump off the bridge and that's her out. Stabbing, okay, people might say, well, she got stabbed. I think she knew she was going to get stabbed.
Yeah. I think she might have been banking on the waif being.
We
angry.
see her get stabbed, we see her bleed, but who's she recently taken a shine to?
Lady
Ah,
Crane.
Lady Crane. And who would you go to see if you wanted to act wounded? It would not
Alright.
surprise me if the actors knew how to fake a wound for their plays.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a pig's bladder full of fake blood, and that's what she's using to
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of disguise that and make the waif think she's wounded. So she's bloody, stabbed.
Yeah.
Waif thinks she's wounded her. She falls into the water, but the waif's got to confirm the kill, right?
Yeah.
Because
When-
thank God.
Yeah, exactly. You can't,
You
get
got to
your-
pick up the dog
Kill
tags.
confirmed.
Exactly. You can't get your contract banked. And when Arya escapes from the water, she's leaving a trail of blood. And when we see in the last episode at the end of it, she's got a needle, she's in a dark area, and she's kind of waiting. So I think Arya's led a trail
Yeah.
to that dark area where the waif is going to expect a wounded, unarmed Arya.
But
Instead,
really?
it's Arya who's armed with needle,
Yeah.
who no one else knows about. She is completely fine, and she has the training to fight without her sight.
She's in Matt Murdock mode.
Waif is gonna get ruined.
But also, whenever she's trained with Waif, it's always been with a staff, right?
Yeah.
has the waif ever shown any proficiency in sword fighting? Because we know that Arya had her training with
Yeah.
Sword of Bravos, Syrio Forel.
Someone also did the freeze frames of the old woman's face.
Yeah.
And they've gone back a little while, and Arya actually sees the face the waif uses in the Hall of Faces. So she would immediately see this face and be like, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
You ain't real. So, I mean,
Interesting.
do you think that Arya's really in trouble, or is this just her master ninja plan finally coming to a head?
It definitely feels like it's a ninja plan.
Yeah.
Because it's contrary to everything she's learned so far. It's contrary to the way she behaves as a character.
Yeah.
You know, running into a trap, that kind of thing. It seems too reckless to be Arya.
Yeah.
So there's something interesting happening. And I really like the idea of seeing her kind of combine her Syrio Forel training with her Faceless Men training using needle, because she's always been using the kind of staff.
And she's never been good at it.
Yeah, and she's been okay. I mean, there were points where she was taking the waif down, and this is why she was blind. So imagine what she can do when she can see, or even is blinded, and has needle, which is a weapon suited to her. She's a little more lithe. She's a little more like balletic with that stuff. She is gonna wreck some fools with that sword, and it's gonna be awesome.
We don't even know if the waif had the whole blind thing, because that was implied as it was a punishment for Arya for she took down
Meryn Trant.
and the punishment was to lose her sight. So the
Yeah.
waif may never have had that. So she's actually going in blind, where Arya is completely fine. I'm gonna murder her some waif.
All right.
All right, let's talk about some Hound. We've been big fans of the Gravedigger theory from the books, and also the Cleganebowl theory. We've got extended videos on like exactly breaking those down and what like all the evidence for and against. But basically, Gravedigger theory is that Brienne of Tarth travels to a place called the Quiet Isle, meets a bunch of peaceniks, basically monks, penitent men, and sees a man who could be the Hound, sees the Hound's horse, and talks with a guy who says, "No, the Hound is dead. The persona of the Hound is dead. Sandor Clegane is still alive." So that's the Gravedigger. And Cleganebowl is that the Hound is going to represent the faith, and the Mountain will represent the crown in a battle
Trial by combat
for Cersei Lannister's life. So it seems like all these are kind of like all these pieces are falling into place, and that this might actually happen this season. Finally, now we've got the Hound back. But I think it's quite interesting that there's some slight differences between how it's gone down in the show compared to how the events have kind of been seeded in the book. So I thought, for example, that Ian McShane would play the elder brother, who is like this really pious man and leader of the Quiet Isle. But he didn't. He played Septon Meribald, who is, basically he's a wandering Septon who's been wandering for about 40 years, and he leads Brienne and co to the Quiet Isle. He's not the leader of it. So I thought that was quite interesting. I guess it's just for ease of time that they cut the elder brother.
Right.
And I mean, if you've got an actor like Ian McShane, you...
I want to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
I mean, one episode, one death, but whatever. Also, I like the fact that the Hound he's the wood chopper instead of the Gravedigger, because that makes more logical sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, thematically, it's a little more lighter. Like it shows where he could have gone. If he's digging graves, it kind of might make the audience feel like, oh, he's still kind of a grim dude. Whereas
the only
if
thing
he's
he's good
chopping
for is
wood,
death.
he's
And I think
creating.
He
so
needed a
it's like-
task that would like maintain his strength as well.
Yeah.
So like digging graves,
Keep
chopping
them
wood.
biceps.
Yeah, because if he was just if he was a chef, when he goes up against the mountain when Cleganebowl happens, he'd be like, ugh,
I'll chop you really quickly.
I've all wasted away.
What I thought was interesting is the conversation between Meribald and the Hound. They cut this amazing speech that was in the book where they talk about men who abandon armies. Although I think that's quite symbolic as well.
Yeah.
Because we see in the north that Jon is completely failing to raise a big army. And the army that he has, we saw them infighting.
Yeah.
So that could be, those guys aren't, maybe they don't cut it, maybe they will run
And the
away.
Hound himself abandoned the Lannisters.
Yeah, exactly. But also what we have is Meribald talking about when he was a warrior and he cut the throat of a young man, a boy, while his mother looked on and was sad and crying. He says, like, her screams haunt my dreams, which is quite, like, it's such strong parallels to Catelyn Stark, who watched as Robb dies and then she has her own throat cut.
Yeah.
So, I mean, also what I quite liked is that talking about the suffering of like the men on the front lines, and then you get the parallels from the Glovers talking and saying, no, like we're not joining you because
We've suffered enough.
we've suffered enough for you.
It is really a contained arc to kind of re-establish the Hound, and kind of, because the speech that Septon Meribald gives is pretty much the most heinous thing you can do in any universe. Like he's
Yeah.
killed a child in front of the mother, and Hound is probably at that point thinking, this dude's a real bad dude, but he's got the peace thing going on.
Yeah.
People like look up to him, and he's building something for the future. Maybe he's thinking about what he's done and how he could potentially do the same thing.
Yeah.
But then obviously over the course of, you know, the events that happen, it's kind of like, actually, I think I'm a dude that likes to kill people because, you know, all my would-be friends are now dead, so I'm gonna chop some heads.
Does being peaceful guarantee you
It
safety?
doesn't.
Yeah.
Like,
In
it
the
clearly
end,
doesn't.
yeah. In the end, the Hound feels like he was right because, you know, Maribald was trying to present something else, and Hound did kind of resist it. He was always talking about how, you know, peace never worked for him or anything like that. And in the end, he's proven correct because, you know, all the peaceniks are dead and he's alive, so he's got a job to do now.
Chopping wood
Chop
saved
wood.
him.
Yep.
But also, what's interesting is when Maribald is talking about the boys that he killed. It's quite interesting that like some people online are thinking, was he part of the push to kill all of Robert Baratheon's bastards?
Oh, right.
Which could be an interesting one. I don't know if that's really confirmed. We don't really know where he's been.
Yeah.
But also, let's talk about this scene. Is that the Brotherhood without banners come, and they are really quite different. Like obviously they would terrorize like the Lannisters and the Freys, but to attack a peaceful kind of colony says something, I think, about their leadership. So if Beric Dondarrion is still in charge, I can't see that. But we're going into book theory territory now, which is Lady Stoneheart. So if you haven't read the books, probably a good idea to step back now. But Lady Stoneheart is the name that's been bandied around for the end of this season. The reanimated corpse, essentially, of Catelyn Stark, who is full of vengeance, and she takes control of the Brotherhood without banners, and basically just like they go ham.
Yeah, they just start killing mercilessly, wanton killing.
There is a couple of connections between the Brotherhood without banners, Beric Dondarrion, and what we see the Septon talking to the Hound, because the Septon says to the Hound, the gods aren't finished with you. And when the Hound was their prisoner, Beric Dondarrion said the same thing to the Hound.
God still has a plan for you or something like that.
Yeah.
And obviously the Brotherhood say things like, you know, for the night is dark and full of terrors. So maybe like the Lord of Light's magic has brought Catelyn back, and that's why they keep saying that, and that's more reinforced, I guess. But also Catelyn's calling card is hanging people. So, well, Lady Stoneheart's calling card is hanging people, and so obviously Ian McShane at the end.
Yeah, their hanging game this season has been real good. Like
Good hangs.
there's some good hanging people.
Ollie.
Excellent prop work.
So where do we think, I mean, with all this in mind, I know this season people have been managing to travel like, they could be right at the south of the country and then be north of the wall in like a day. Does he have time to go deal with the Brotherhood and then still make it back to King's Landing?
I mean, I think the time frame is Cersei's trial by combat, right? Like she's hinted that it's only a few days away. But with all the stuff the Faith is going through, like it might be rescheduled, like rain check for that.
Yeah.
And the Quiet Isle isn't really, it's not up north. It's fairly southish. So in theory, there's time.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lady Stoneheart thing, I think maybe, as much as I would love that, are they going to kind of suffer with bringing too many people back
Well, the thing is,
too quickly?
we know that Thoros of Maya, so the guy that plays him, like someone put on his website, yes, he's definitely confirmed to come back in season 6 of Game of Thrones. So we know he's going to make a return. But like, I don't know if it makes sense to bring Lady Stoneheart back at this point.
I think she's going to be a key plot point of whatever they do in the future, not right now. Maybe at the end of the season we see like a picture of Catelyn Starr's face or something like that.
They'll do like the Jon Snow, like
the eyes opening
right?
or something like that, or like just her appearing from the shadows, and then that's what's explored going forward. I think for the Hound to deal with all of that stuff,
It'd be too much too fast.
Too much, and like you said, like bringing back multiple characters from death in one season might be a bit too much. Like people are still kind of dealing with what the implications of Jon Snow coming back means. He's changed as a character. To bring that Catelyn back and have her drastically shift in the way she was, it would be really difficult to reconcile all these kind of moving gears together. So I think that the whole Lady Stoneheart thing needs to be its own focus later on.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about what you said about Jon was that if he's been brought back to life, he doesn't seem to have that much of a personality change. He's still the moody kind of. I mean, there was one episode where he was like, "Oh, my watch is over," but then like he's not going around killing everyone, killing innocents. Whereas it's going to be difficult for show viewers to kind of appreciate that if Lady Stoneheart comes back and she's a complete vengeful bitch.
At the same time, I mean, Catelyn Stark did see all her children, her pregnant daughter-in-law, all her loyal men, and her family killed before she then murdered a young girl.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could appreciate that. Jon was killed by his friends, but Catelyn saw her whole family and lineage killed, and at that point, her
What
kids
she
were
thought
missing.
was her, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can appreciate if Catelyn's a bit more perturbed than Jon.
There's like a level of understanding as well to it. Like Catelyn, her death was unexpected almost. It was like a trap. Whereas Jon Snow, I mean, he kind of had the feeling that something was going on, and almost you could imagine him understanding why he was killed. Like, you know, that was always a point of, you know, conflict between himself and Ollie and the rest of the, you know, the Night's Watch that were on the other side. So when it finally happened, you imagine that he knew why that happened, which kind of grounded him somewhat. So when he came back, there wasn't this like, you know, question mark over what happened, or like this kind of burning rage to get a vengeance for it. In the moment he came back, it was almost like he understood what had happened, and he knew that what was going to happen next was those people were going to die, and he took care of it. So like all that stuff was resolved straight away. Whereas for Catelyn, she comes back, all her kids are dead, everyone responsible is scattered, so she's got the reason to be, you know, vengeful.
What I find interesting is that I feel like by bringing so many characters back, by bringing Jon, by bringing the Mountain back, by bringing essentially the Hound back, you're kind of lessening the impact of death in the show.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've had key characters die before, like Ned, we've had Joffrey, Tywin, whoever, Robb, and they I guess they don't have a chance of coming back.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know...
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
I think the main implication of this, though, is that it's sowing the seeds of Cleganebowl and Lady Stoneheart happening, but I think they're sown too late, and we're not going to get to see them until next season.
So we didn't have any on-screen deaths, really. Like, we know that all the Peaceniks died. Ian McShane got, you know, hung. But
we didn't get to see the good stuff.
We didn't get to see the gory good stuff. But what we did have in abundance this week was sass.
My goodness, there
Was
was some
shade. So we've decided this week to go for sass of the week.
Yep.
And there has been so much to choose from.
Ooh, so
Tam,
much.
do you want to start?
We're going to go with little Lyanna.
10
who's
years old.
Sassy and sharp and biting in the way that only a 10-year-old can be. You know, that sows your face and it hurts when a kid does it that bad. So she starts off by firstly dunking on her own mother, which is just savage.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, no, my mum was no kind of beauty, which kind of is like almost shade to Lyanna Stark, which is like,
because
she's like,
she was named after the beauty Lyanna.
she's like,
Yeah.
I ain't got no time for no beauties. So then from there, she goes to Jon Snow's story, and Jon Snow's like, look, I served with such and such, and she's like, shut up. I ain't got time for
care.
any of this. Can we cut the crap and get to the point? And so Jon Snow's like, damn, this 10-year-old is on fire. So then from there, they kind of present their pitches.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you know, as far as I know, you're a Snow. And what the hell are you, Sansa? Are you a
So
Stark
good.
or are you a, you know, one of the
Bolton,
many Bolton
Lannister.
or a Lannister? Like, I don't know. My sources are telling me that you're a bit of everything, which is just like unbelievable. Like, and like Sansa's face is like, I gotta take this. I can't even say anything. I need the men. And then there's like a few minutes of talking smack from her. Eventually they're kind of like, okay, let's, you know, get some men going, this kind of stuff. And then, you know, what's his face presents Davos comes in and saves the day. And she goes, all right, let's do this. Ultimate. This is the sassiest moment. After spending what is like 10 minutes just dunking on these guys, she goes, all right, I'll give you 62 men. Which, what? That is unbelievable. They're probably thinking, we took all that shit for 62 men.
We travelled all this way.
Took an emotional battery and you're giving us
From
60.
a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And oh my God, that is just, I think she's the sassiest character in Game of Thrones history so far.
Or is she? Dave?
Sam Bron's my favourite for. He is a machine gun of witty sass. 10 seconds on screen and he calls the Frey twins and their troops twats.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can dig a trench. Any man can dig a trench. And like, Freys, you can't even dig a trench properly, man. It's literally moving dirt from there to there and sitting in it. Jamie's comment about how he has better instincts than anyone in the Lannister army. And he says,
That's like saying I have a bigger cock than anyone in the Unsullied army.
excellent work, Bran. And then you're listening to Jaime because Bronn's been promised so much.
Yeah.
And Jaime says, "A Lannister always," and Bronn's just like, "Don't you say it. Don't you say it." Just taking the wind out of his sails instantly.
Yeah.
And saying that to Jaime Lannister takes
I
some
love
stones.
it. They have that relationship though. But also my pick is the reigning queen of Sass. If Lyanna is the
new
upstart,
blood. Yeah.
Olenna Tyrell. My God, like it's incredible. Like Cersei has that smirk, and Olenna quite rightly says, like, I remember that smirk when you had my grandchildren taken away.
Yeah.
So now it's my turn, and just lays out. So what have we got? We've got Loras rots in a cell because of you. The High Sparrow rules the city because of you. Our two ancient houses face collapse because of you and your stupidity. Which is like what people have been saying for years about Cersei.
It's what we want to say to Cersei.
Yeah, and it's like, I wonder if you're the worst person I've ever met.
Yeah.
And at a certain age, it's hard to recall. But the truly vile do stand out throughout the years.
Cue MLG air
That's
horns.
harsh.
And of course, the jab at the High Sparrow.
Yeah.
I'm leaving this wretched city as fast as I can before that shoeless zealot throws me into one of his cells.
The shoeless zealot.
That's the one. Shoeless zealot.
Yeah.
What a phrase.
And I like that we've ranked these, and the 10 out of 10 that we have is...
You've lost, Cersei. It's the only joy I can find in all this misery.
So as usual, a secondary spoiler warning. If you didn't watch the next time on Game of Thrones and you want to go into next week's episode fresh, turn away now. But for everyone who wants to kind of understand what's coming up in next week's episode, which is no one, then keep watching. All right, so it doesn't seem to be Cleganebowl just yet, but we do get a confrontation between the Faith and the Crown. So we have Cersei and Lancel. Step aside or there'll be violence. I choose violence. And then later on we have the Mountain just ripping someone's head off.
He's gone from crushing them to literally pulling them off.
He's mixing it up. You got to give him that. He likes a bit of varied.
What's his obsession with heads?
I don't know.
Is it because his looks
his
so
one
gross?
is messed up. Like, he's just trying to get a new head.
We also see Brienne and Pod in the Riverlands. This is what I think is going to be a great plot point because they spent so long establishing the relationship between Brienne and Jaime, and Brienne's obviously there to talk to the Blackfish and get them on side, but she's like, "Oh, Jaime, you're on the other side to me. Are we gonna have to duke this out?"
Jaime would not win that fight.
Yeah.
He's only one-handed, and she's real tall.
And she is savage.
She's amazing. What else have we got? Then it's just Jaime talking some crap about how much he loves Cersei. I don't understand why he loves her so much.
Well, no one else is going to love him anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
He's screwed up enough and he's been banished.
But like she's ruining everything for them. Like,
And she's like repeated failures now.
Yeah.
Like she's very slowly failing at everything she does. Surely Jaime should be at some point be like, you're not doing too well. I'm gonna leave.
It's like brother sister love. It's
it's real brothers.
It's real
as well.
brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Too
special.
real.
It's the Freud kind.
So we also see the Hound swinging at someone. So this is the Brotherhood. Is it
a tree.
a tree?
Still chopping.
Chopping some wood. We've got Bronn grabbing, what we assume is Bronn, grabbing Pod. Just like, so I mean, unless like if Brienne and Jaime are fighting, the underlings have to find something to do.
Unless it's something like Bronn's using Pod as a pawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Bargaining chip.
yeah, Brienne, you're going to do my bidding, otherwise Pod's going to get...
Yeah, which will be interesting considering their arc has been like they start off not liking each other, and now we get to see how much she actually cares about Pod after all this time. Will she kind of try and get him back, or will she be like, I don't really care about him. I never
Yeah, do
care about
whatever.
him. Do whatever.
No, I think you'll care. We also get to see Tyrion looking at a lamp that lights itself. So,
They've installed clappers.
Yeah.
so I'm going to say Red Priestess here, talking about them. I mean, Daenerys isn't back yet, is she?
No, she's still with her
Still
Calico.
hanging out.
They're still trying to figure out like what to do in Marine. We also have some like legit Assassin's Creed stuff here. So if you freeze frame on this running segment, that is definitely the waif. She's running some track. She's running after Arya. Arya appears to just leap over. Like, I hope there's a hay bale.
Yeah.
But like,
Eagle sound.
Synchronization point.
so I think that's going to come to a head, which is interesting though, because we were saying that like Arya's definitely lured her into a trap. So if she's running away from the
she's
waif, that
running.
doesn't make any sense. unless something goes wrong.
Yep.
And then, as we said, we've got the mountain ripping someone's head off.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
So these last 3 episodes are longer than the previous episodes have been. The previous episodes have been like 53 minutes. I think the finale is going to be like 70, 80 odd minutes, which is
Feature length.
feature length movie. So guys, what did you make of this week's episode?
I thought it was a bit weird mixed. Like I really like what they're doing. They're setting up a lot of interesting things, but unfortunately there's a lot of filler and like boring stuff in between. Like we had some good sass, which is great, but obviously the good thing was, the best part of it was the Hound arc. At the same time, it could have been completely like, it resolves itself within a single episode, which gives it very little gravity. Like you see him, he's back, he may change, oh, he's not going to change. Anyway, moving on. So like that part of it was kind of, but I'm just really glad to see the Hound back, and also Bron's back, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, I love Bron.
And, yeah, Arya's moving towards full ninja mode, which is exciting.
Yeah, like you said, like the 2 most interesting parts for me was the Hound revelation and Arya's little arc there.
Yeah.
I think everything surrounding that is just, they've spent 2 or 3 episodes sowing seeds to what's going to come to the rest of the season. That I think what they're doing is they've gotten all this out of the way, and then the last 3 episodes are just going to be way intense.
Yeah. Especially as well, I think the Yara and Theon and Daenerys plotline hopefully will happen next episode or the episode after, because I want her off that rock. I want her over. I want her getting stuck in. I want Arya to finish her arc and get stuck in, because she's got some vengeance to do. But I guess we'll find out next week.
We will.
Which is really exciting. So if you want to come find us on Twitter, I'm at Lucy James Games.
I'm at Irregular Dave.
I'm at @TomorH.
If you want to listen to the podcast version, search for GameSpot of Thrones on iTunes, and you can listen to our lovely voices on your commute, which is always great, I find.
Yes.
So that's it. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.